all of you.
Okay.
One of them, this is an invitation from the main URI office in the Presidio. And this is Circles of Light for 2012. And this is going to be a group, or the entertainment that night will be Music Without Borders. And it's the Circles of Light Gala, Saturday, March 17th, that's St. Patrick's Day. The welcome reception starts at 6:30 and dinner and program at 7:30. And it's at the Grand Ballroom of the Westin St. Francis Hotel. And I've been several times before, and it is absolutely incredible. It's a beautiful evening. The only question is, if you're interested in paying, I think it's $150. And it's, as you know, it's a fundraiser for URI. So I'll leave this here. If anyone's at least interested, you might look at this. This is a copy of the Golden Rule, which all the different religions, the Golden Rule is the basis for all religions, so that's another thing that was interesting. And I know I've talked about it before, the Charter of Compassion by Karen Armstrong. This is what we've, as a group, Oscar and I joined that for the group a long time ago, so if you're interested in seeing what she says, that's something else. And here's another one of the pamphlets that URI sends out about some of the circles in the world. And this, I'm going to pass around. If any of you would like to fill, next month, we have Shintan Singh talking about Sikhism, and we need someone to do the quiet time.
You put my name on it.
Okay,
You
here you
already
go.
put my name on email.
Oh, well, you're down here to give a program. You said November.
You put my name on the quiet time for next time.
He's
Oh, you are? I'm looking at the wrong place. Excuse me.
Yeah, he's on for them.
The next time, excuse me, after that is Stephen Wagstaff, and he's our district attorney for San Mateo. He'll be here, that's in May. So you're in April.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was reading the wrong one. If anyone would like to sign for April, that would be great. Okay, so with that, I don't have any more to say.
With that, I take the floor.
Okay. I'm sorry there aren't more people here, but we never know.
No problem. And
Should we shut that door? Yeah, thank you, Carol.
I wish to begin with أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of God, the gracious and merciful. I have two parts to the presentation tonight. My request was for Islamic spirituality, which I'm going to be sharing with you in a moment or two. Then Oscar asked me to give us a synopsis of AMC and the rest of the Muslim world. So I got a chart here, we'll share that later on, after my short presentation on Islamic spirituality. Spirituality is differently defined by different people. As many writers we have many different definitions. What you will see in this short presentation is we refer to a deep realization and association with higher power, the Supreme Being. Might make some reference to metaphysics, affirmation you talked about, and if I get a chance I'll touch on telepathy and subconsciousness, and then my focus will be on 3 stages of spirituality in Islam, and the ultimate, what I would say is self-actualization, if I can borrow the term from Abraham Maslow, was born here, who proposed the theory of motivation. Abraham Maslow of hierarchy of needs, very commonly used. The spirituality, as I said, is less spoken in Islam. If you go through the books, it's very rarely the word spirituality is mentioned, and clerics particularly do not go in that direction. It's kind of non-existent in the, but doesn't mean to say that the religion of Islam doesn't speak about it. We'll share in a moment. Many seekers of truth get confused with Islamic Shariah things that tend to paint a harsher picture of the religion. The more important, profound, and subtle aspect of the faith is frequently lost. And I created a blog, and in this blog I wish to generate a healthy and truly searching discussion on spirituality of Islam that will also embrace a discussion on meditation methods and approaches as a spiritual source of healing and recovering for a positive self-development and achievement of spiritual satisfaction of man. That is what I am proposing to share with you tonight. Now, as I opened my remarks, I said spirituality is differently defined by different people. Wikipedia, for example, says spirituality can refer to an ultimate or an alleged immaterial reality, an inner path, enabling a person to discover the essence of his or her being, or the deepest values and meanings of which people live. So that essentially is a short description of spirituality. Spiritual practices may include meditation, prayer, and contemplation. Now, having said that, I want to come back to my main thesis, what Islam presents as a program of spiritual development. Now, on one side, we know we have a lot of rules, right? The do's and don'ts. Every religion has that. But that may be termed as what is now very hotly debated subject, the Shariah, the laws of the Quran. Do not kill your neighbors, do not steal, and all these things. But parallel to this, there is a pathway that we are encouraged to follow. And where is this path defined? You know, if you look at all different thinkings and religion and philosophy, everybody tends to describe or talk about path. In the Hindu religion, we learn that karma, it's either bad karma or good karma. Dependent on that, how you live your life, in your life hereafter, you either retain yourself or incarnate as a human being, or you turn into an animal of some sort. That is their philosophy. That's what they say in karma. But karma is central, the fact that deeds. And so Christianity also talks about our deeds. And what kind of deeds Christianity is talking about? Both Judaism and Christianity, Bible, for example, talks about righteous deeds. And we are encouraged to do right deeds and abstain from evil. That is also essentially true about Islam, because three religions are now different as far as the central theme is concerned, as far as the different prophets are concerned. We all subscribe to the same thing. Now, you will also hear a lot of people talk about, they say, oh, you know, religion or God is something like a mountain placed on a very high peak, and you can find your different ways to get there, reach there. You can approach that from all different angles, from all different sides to climb the mountain and reach God, or whatever the term you prefer. Some people say higher power. My criticism is that that's not really true. It's a good thought though, but not all mountains are designed that you can climb it from all sides. You may climb from one side, but you might fall down on the other side into the cliff. The other example that I often hear when I go to discourses, in religious discourses, so, you know, all religions are fine, they're all pathways, just like a river flowing into an ocean. God resembles the big ocean, and rivers from all sides tend to flow into that ocean, and there's no difference which river you go through. The ultimate goal is to reach God. Very good idea, but not necessarily all rivers really follow there. Some end up dried up, and some merge into other rivers. But to explain some phenomenon, that's a good approach. Given all these different descriptions, my challenge is to look into my religious scripture to see what is the path described for me. And this is the spiritual path that I want to share with you. I don't want you to become Muslim. I don't want to say, but I do want to share this with you because you want to know what Islam is talking about. What is the path? And the path is very, very clearly defined. And we pray 5 times a day. So in one prayer, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 times during one prayer in the morning, then in the afternoon for 5 different prayers. So probably 25 to 30 times we repeat this prayer. This is part of the opening chapter of the Quran, which is called Al-Fatiha. In this chapter, we are taught to seek this path. And we are told, what we say that, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ. Sirat means path. اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. The path that is straight. Oh my Lord, guide us on a straight path. The Sirat al-Mustaqima, Sirat al-Ladina anamta alayhim. The path of right, which is right, path of righteousness. Path of those who follow the path and they were bestowed with your blessings and rewards. Not, and further goes to define the path. And the Sirat al-Mustaqima, Sirat al-Ladina anamta alayhim, and not the path those who deviated or left the path, and not the path of those who turned ungrateful. So 2 different groups are mentioned here. Those who deviate and abandon the right path, or those who, having found the right path, are ungrateful. So we are told to seek for that kind of a path of righteousness, on whom God has, unto those who followed the path and they were given blessings and rewards. And we find a number of people in the world, right from Adam all the way down to Abraham, Jacob, Moses, and Jesus and Muhammad. And there are many others who are not in that lineage or in that group of prophets, but they are righteous people. Mahatma Gandhi would be one, and Buddha and others that we know of. They're all righteous people. When you study their lives, we don't see that they have been people of menace. They always talked about peace. They always talked about abstaining from wrong and doing good. And that's what our religion says. Abstain from evil and do the right thing. So you'll be righteous. You'll be righteously guided. You'll be on the right path. This is what we are told, and this is the very essence of our spirituality. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule of going to war or not going to war. That has nothing to do with it. This path is a path, and then God says in the Quran, do not commit disorder on earth. That's another thing for Muslims to remember, that they are to keep peace and not create disorder of any sort, any nature. Now, so a righteous person, or a person who seeks a path of righteousness, will abstain from that, will be devoted to this. And what is the ultimate goal? The goal is to reach that higher power. People call it, in metaphysics, it's referred to as higher power. I think they shy away from using the term God, maybe. Others too, they try to talk in terms of higher power. But in essence, they're talking about the supreme being, God, as referred to in the Bible and in the Quran. The Creator, the most powerful being that we know. the most, and so that's where we are going with this path of righteousness, where it's leading us to a communion, a relationship with that high power, that mighty, almighty God. Why? Because He is the Creator. If He created us, we virtually belong to Him. So it's a relationship that you want to seek and build and experience. It's just not just a realization or an affirmation that there is God, but to realize the real existence of God, and I'm coming to that in a moment. I'm very grateful that I belong to Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and our founder explains this, the process of spirituality in Islam very, very eloquently, and I find that kind of explanation is not available in the larger mainstream Muslim community. I haven't come across that sort of an explanation. Now he says that there are 3 stages that we go through, and the stages are referred to in the Quran. One is the stage of nafs ammara. Nafs means yourself, your inner being. Your inner being, your inner self goes through an initial stage of nafs ammara, where you are so uncertain, you are not very sure what is right, what is wrong. Maybe you're more prone to doing wrong than right. But as you grow, as you experience, as you learn, you socialize, and you learn and educate yourself, you go through a process of accumulating, educating yourself, developing, and in that process, you try to understand and distinguish right from wrong as you develop, become adult and more refined in your life, and a whole life is in front of you to build yourself, to go through that process of development. And that process, that developmental process is referred to as nafs awama. That means you are improving yourself day after day by listening to people, interacting with people. Your parents teach you right things, not to do wrong things. Then you become independent, you start reading the Bible, reading the different scriptures, reading different good books and the moral teachings, and you awaken to your spirituality. So that's how we go through certain process. Some people abstain, they don't care about it, fine, but large majority, our inclination is towards that developmental process. We all want to become better human beings. That is the urge, that is the inspiration in us, naturally placed in us, that trait is in us. So men seek to develop. And so what happens is you become more morally sound, spiritually sound in the process. Where does it lead you to? The ultimate goal of this spiritual development, the spirituality that you go through, is again, as I cited earlier, the last result, the end result is to seek an association, a relationship with God, the Creator. So the third step in the process is called nafs mutma'inna. It's an Arabic word. Mutma'inna, there was a word called itminan. You are complete satisfaction. When somebody says, be itminan, if an Arabic speaker would say, be itmanan, and that means be at peace, be at rest, completely reconciled. So when you having done all that, and you take to your teachings, your understanding of humanity, the whole thing, whole 9 yards, in the process of learning and developing, you come to a stage when you are in association, in relationship with God. That's where you find your total satisfaction. You're at complete ease and you're reconciled. You're such a humble person. that you do not tend to hurt or harm anybody, either by your tongue or by your actions. And that's the kind of program that our faith proposes, and that's what we are encouraged to follow. That is, in essence, and very, very briefly, the path of righteousness, the path that leads you to God, and without hurting anybody. And the pinnacle of this relationship, how do you realize that you are in a relationship with God? You realize His existence. Your prayers are answered. Your prayers are answered in circumstances when you have no other means, no other sources, no other helper, and you knock at His door, your petition, you make a petition before Him, and you know that He is the only one who can approve and grant you those. And when they're granted, you know you have a relationship, some special relationship is building between you and God. So much so, those who progress and fall in love with God, God says that I am closer to you than your life lottery. You just call me and I'll answer. And in literal sense, you will hear the voice of God if you are that pious, that pure, and that connected with God. When God says, you call and I'll answer, He does. And there are very few people who will reach that level, that pinnacle of development in this spiritual process, that you will hear the word of God. He comes and says, I love you, I hear you. There was a person, I'll just cite this, and then I'll stop here, I want to finish this part. There was a person who once kind of challenged me, I should say. He said, you explain us all these things, I said, where are you calling me from? And the person said, I'm calling you from Mecca, the place of pilgrimage of Muslims. I said, are you praying? He said, yes, I'm praying. I said, wait, call me a few days later. And lo and behold, a few days later, he calls me and said, guess what? I heard the voice of God. I said, what was that? I said, I was told the path that you are on is the right one. So there you are. It's not me, it's God, and you are in the holiest of the holy places of Islam. I'm not there, I haven't seen it. So why would God say that to you? You think about it. So anyway, that's one little thing I want to share with you. Maybe when you ask me questions later on, I'll be able to share more of the information. Should I take a rest, or you want me to go to the next part of it? Because I want to finish this spirituality part.
Do what you would like
Do
to do.
what I like to do, you leave it to me, okay. Here's mine. All right, now I've prepared a little chart here. I think it's not very well, not big enough for everybody to read from there, can you?
If you say the words as you point to them, that would probably work.
Okay, the heading is contrast. AMC, that's Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, Sunnis and Shias. Okay, before I come to that, let me cite one little statement of the Prophet of Islam. As far as all the divisions in Islam is concerned, he said before his death that Christians and Jews were divided into 72 sects. Listen, O Muslims, you will be divided into 73 sects. It means you're going to beat them. That was the idea, not literally count 72, 73. That means the division in Muslims will be so bad that you will beat them. He didn't stop there. This is not a glad tiding. This, if you listen to the whole statement, it's a matter of deep concern for all Muslims, but they're reading. And he goes on to say, if there was a person in the Ummah, in the following of Jews and Christians, who put his hand in the hole of a snake, there shall be one in my ummah, in my following. And he said,
Ummah is a community.
Ummah is community, right? And he said, if there was one among them who slept with his mother, there'll be one in my ummah who would do the same. Sad story. Anyway, he goes on to say, and they said, my ummah, my followers will resemble them like two pairs of shoes, a pair of shoes rather. The two will resemble that. That is such a great resemblance at that time. So he was not giving a glad tiding or uplifting something. He was telling Muslims to beware that you will, and the reason he was telling was not to get divided. So you stick to the original teachings, and remember how your brothers got divided, the Jews and the Christians. Do not do that. But it turned out, as the history bears the facts, Muslims did the same thing. Soon after Prophet Muhammad, there were 4 caliphs. The first was Abu Bakr, his father-in-law and immediate follower. Then Hazrat Umar. Then was Hazrat Uthman. Then was Hazrat Ali, who happened to be his son-in-law as well as his cousin, or nephew rather. Anyway, and then the division takes place after Ali, we all know. And this is where the Shia group came into being, because Shi'at means actually the helper. Shia means helper. Shi'at Ali means helper of Ali. So those, Ali didn't say at the time of it, during his life, to come and help me. It was after he was martyred or murdered, that's when the group started saying, oh, we're the helpers of Ali, and all these things started. And naturally, those who didn't belong to that school of thought came to be recognized as the Sunnis, meaning that they are the ones who follow the traditions of the Prophet. Sunnah means the traditions or the ways of the Prophet, or the statements of those who did not fall into that camp came to be recognized as Sunnis, and those who tend to believe that Shia Ali followers, they became Shias. And then there are branches. You will have in Shias the 12ers, the 7ers, and all these kind of names, and Alavis and in India they degenerate into Bora. But anyway, but divisions took place. They're still recognized as Shias, but there are different groups there. One of them is the Ismailis. You will hear a lot. The Ismailis tend to be very, very business-minded. They tend to help one another among themselves chiefly. And they're found all over the world. And they're not too religious-minded. They're not into like 5 daily prayers, and they don't give importance to that. Sunnis on the other side, they're also just as badly divided all over the world. They're differently named, different groups that can create any group anywhere, select their president, local chapters I mean. And but they all tend to subscribe to a school of thought, some of which I'll share in a moment. Anyway, so that is the outline. So what I wanted to share with you, what is the essential part of Islam here, then what the Sunnis believe, then what AMC believes, then Shias here, generally what Shias speak about. Now, in Islam we have 5 pillars, okay? We talk a lot about 5 pillars of Islam. Creed, daily prayers, Hajj, fast, and zakat. These are principles. These are principles. Creed is that you say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. And then 5 daily prayers, then Hajj, which is the pilgrimage to Mecca. You fast 30 days, and you pay zakat, which is alms, your tithe that you give. And then the Prophet of Islam, then 4 righteous caliphs I just mentioned. Book is Holy Quran. Then sects, well, we have sects, and then there's a little controversy about Jesus. As far as Jesus is concerned, the Sunnis believe he physically went into heaven. AMC believe he died a natural death. And Shias have various different viewpoints. Some believe he went to heaven, some believe they don't. And then they have another imam that they think, I think it's the seventh imam, who didn't die, they think, and he will return instead of Jesus. So they're not very clear on this, but there are various accounts there. As far as the return of Jesus is concerned, the Sunnis, all of them are waiting for him to come down from heaven. AMC believes he has already come, and here again there are some variations here in the Shias. And as far as the family of Prophet is concerned, AMC and Sunnis believe the same thing, no deviation, no difference. Here the Shias have a lot of differences, and the stories, if you hear, are very, very painful. And that is the conflict between the Shias and Sunnis over the Prophet's wives and children and daughters. They have a very terrible situation there. Article of Faith, same, these, the Article of Faith I didn't mention here, but they are same, except here some variations. One of the variations is that the central theme, the Prophet is, Muhammad is the Prophet of God, and God, Allah is the God, right? So they tend to include Ali as part of it, and there's a big controversy between the Shias and Sunnis over that. And very, very, very strong, very stubbornly strong. Now there's another aspect of it. This is a term of the Quran, Khatamun Nabiyyin. You'll hear and read a lot if you get into reading about the different Islamic groups. The Sunnis hold that the Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet, and there will be no other prophet of any kind after him. Although they subscribe to the idea that Jesus will come back, but they say he will not be a prophet, although he was a prophet according to Islamic belief. But when he comes, he will be not a prophet. What AMC believes is that the term Khatam al-Nabiyyin refers to law-bearing prophet. There will be no more law-bearing prophet. No prophet will come with a new law, divine law. All the laws that was supposed to have come have been revealed. And with the coming of the Quran, that was it. That's the AMC belief. That's also, and this has become a big controversy, especially in Pakistan, and then, of course, Saudi Arabia is a big part of it, and Saudi Arabia, as you know, is part of the Sunnatul Jamaat, the Sunni group, although they are Wahhabis, as I said, they're known as Wahhabis, they're also known as Jamaatis, they're also known as Tablighi Jamaat because they go out to preach Islam. But this has become a very, very controversial. The reason is AMC founder, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, said that I had been commissioned as a prophet. So they said, oh, there can't be any other prophet after Prophet Muhammad. So you're a liar. You're out of Islam. And that has been, in Pakistan, that has become part of the constitutional law. That Ahmadis are not Muslims because of that belief and because of the fact that the AMC founder described himself as a prophet. And he said, I'm not a prophet of the sort you believe, common understanding. The prophet here only means that I have a special relationship with Allah, that he speaks to me. Does he speak to you? He speaks to me, and whatever I'm saying is coming true. Therefore, judge me on the basis of that. If I'm not the right person and not the truth person, whatever I'm saying will all fall to pieces. Because no false person can stand in front of God. The false people fall and fail miserably. But it's more than 100 years we've been going. There's a lot more. I don't want to talk more about it, but just in a sketch here what I do. So, but the idea of prophets not coming is kind of contradictory to the teachings of Islam. And there is a verse which clearly says that وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ. I promise you 4 categories, God said in the Quran. That those who follow the Quran and the Prophet and be righteous, they shall be among those who are prophets, the righteous, the honest, and the righteous. They will be belonging to one of these categories, and these are blessings that I give you. So, the fact that God speaks to a person doesn't make him any more special than Prophet Muhammad, nothing above him. It's just a status you enjoy because you follow Prophet Muhammad so closely. And in his obedience, this verse that I just read, because in his obedience you get that. So I want to conclude with that synopsis, and I want to just round up my discussion and don't become too much of a theologist here. And so that probably gives you some insight, and I'd love to take some questions.
So was that
Or any contribution, yeah.
Was that the main objection that the Sunnis had to AMC, that the founder considered himself a prophet? Was that what created the division?
Very true. That's the very fundamental reason. They don't disagree with him. They say, he prays. He does everything like Muslims. He reads the Quran. There's nothing wrong. But this thing here, no. So it's their interpretation versus ours, and on the ground, on which ground they say, you're not a Muslim. Out of Islam. Bye-bye. You'll hear that from, you speak to any Sunni for that matter, and just ask them, what do you think about the IMC, Ahmadis? Listen, we're called Ahmadi Muslims. There's another term that they use about us, they say Qadiani. Qadiani, because our founder is from Qadian, India. And it's a tradition in India, wherever you belong to, they attest the name of the place with you. So if you're from Bombay, they'll say Mumbai. If you're from Delhi, they'll say Krishna Ram Narayan Delvi. So if you were born in Qadian, doesn't matter who you are, Hindu, Muslim or Christian, after your name they'll add the word Qadiani. So those who refer to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, they did it in a respectable way, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani. But then these people took that word Qadiani out and branded it. These people are Qadianis, with a kind of a twist in it, kind of derogatory sense of the word. So that's they're Qadianis, that's Saudis, that kind of orientation to that. But it's very, very hugely used in their literature, in their discourses, in their debate, and their talks. If I go in the middle of the Sunnis here, I say, Qadiani is a Qadiani, But they talk to me all right. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I know who I am. I know what it means. But
a
yes.
Question?
I'm sorry. Did I answer
Excuse
that
me.
to you? For you? Okay, good.
Thank you.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Excuse me. As far as the Baha'is, it sounds like
Mirza Ghulam Ahmad.
sounds very much like the same problems that the Baha'is are having, because of Baha'u'llah was the one that said, I am a prophet. And so there's a similar objection from the, it would be
Mainstream.
primarily from the Shiites and not the Sunnis,
Everybody.
everybody?
All 72 of them together. As far as Ahmadis are concerned, all of them are against.
Okay. I was reading about Indonesia today, and it mentioned very strongly
Yeah,
the problem with Ahmadiyya
right,
in Indonesia
right,
now.
right.
So, and also, same thing with the Baha'is. It sounds like the two groups are objectionable to the other Muslims, whether it's the Sunnis or the Shiites. Is that true?
That is very true, and there's one thing that I wanted to add. As far as the Baha'i founder is concerned, I think he didn't only say he was prophet, but he also said he was God in his books. But that remains to be checked, and I don't know. That could be, if he said that.
I didn't know that, but
Yeah, that would be much more inflammable for them, you know. And you're quite right, in Indonesia, they're very, very strict about Ahmadis. They have killed Ahmadis right on the streets, and burned the mosque down. Very horrible there. And in Pakistan too, they have killed Ahmadis cold-blooded inside the mosque. Yeah, what else? Anybody else? Any other question?
I keep hearing Shias and Shiites, are they the same?
Yeah, Shiites in that's the English term, Shiites. You'll find the reports and everywhere. But Shia and Shiites are the same terms, interchangeable terms.
Of all these groups, which are the most peaceful, would you say?
Well, it's for you to judge. We are persecuted everywhere, but we never go to street, we never go and even take them to court. We are saying that, you know, we are the like of the followers of Jesus, the first. For 300 years, the followers of Jesus remained underground, they didn't do anything. And there is no significant evidence to show that there was an uprising from the followers of. They took this as part of life, and this is what we are doing, you know, it comes, we have to take it. And God will give us, you know, better days. So, you know what terrorism and all these that we are thinking, or listening, hearing, they come from the mainstream Muslims. And the mainstream Muslims are comprised of both these groups. And they have very hard practices and hard beliefs. Those, you know, tying a bomb around their, the practices come from there. And Shias too have their own things too. They do their own stuff. And at least killing Sunnis. And vice versa. But as far as the terrorism all over the world, there are a lot of people that fall within the camp, within the Sunni camps. We don't subscribe to that. None of us is in jail. None of us is part of it. We strongly condemn that.
And I think it has been strongly condemned by their own imams.
Right.
Legitimate imams in Islam
Right.
condemn terrorism across the board. So it's really not really a question that has substance in terms of Islam. Terrorists are terrorists, and they are really outside the religion. And all the imams that are authoritative in Islam have condemned them. So that's.
Yeah. In the more recent years, they have come out much cleaner, and saying that. But if you were to go back, say the days of Maududi, who is a very highly regarded cleric in the Sunni world, he's from Pakistan. His writings and he was thrown in jail by their own government, Pakistan government. So, but anyway.